And Grave and Coinbow are back for episode 2 of Loki from Marvel. And honestly, tell me, Coinbow, what the hell are you thinking when you're coming into this?
Well, my first thoughts are that the MCU, it's dead.
Oh yeah, we already got that from the first episode.
Yeah, I mean, no. There's literally nothing that can be done in this episode that's gonna save the stakes.
Well, okay. No, I remember you saying one thing. If Loki just woke up at the beginning of the episode and it was all a dream.
That's not gonna happen. All right, and so knowing that information, I was just thinking, well, that means that timeline and all that stuff is not good. It's not gonna end well. So I was like, well, what about the show itself? Could the show itself be decent? I was like, you know what? I enjoyed the first episode. Despite all of its world building problems and everything it has for the rest of the timeline, first episode, it was enjoyable. They had fun things going on. So I was just kind of hoping this show was going to be good, despite all of its massive MCU problems, world building problems, just all the problems. That was my thoughts. Maybe, I guess I also thought that they were going to establish the TVA a little bit more, see a little bit more what they were going to be doing. That's kind of what I was thinking.
I definitely thought we were going to be spending a lot more time with the TVA, but if I'm honest at all, going into this, I thought there would be a lot more episodes than 6, which meant that I was a lot more kind of expecting them to take their time with certain things, especially with the TVA. I don't know why I was thinking that, because considering WandaVision and Falcon and Winter Soldier, they didn't do that at all.
No,
but I was still holding out hope that they would actually use the TV format in its best way and take their time to go through things and develop things twice as much as they need to.
I don't think Marvel knows how to do that anymore.
No, I really don't. I think they
forgot.
I think they have their formula. They have their famous Marvel formula: action, comedy, fast, go, and I think they're going to stick with that until they die.
I think that they kind of ruled out their writers, and now they got new ones. They're like, here we go, guys, and they're kind of like, we're gonna try you out over here.
Well, I mean, I suppose it's a good job for those writers getting probably the best gig they have ever gotten and ever will.
I actually want to go out on and say that I don't know that they have new writers, but I have a suspicion that they do. I don't know who these writers... I know that the writers for this are not something they had in anything else, but I don't know if they changed their writers, all of them. But I have a feeling that they're rotating in a new batch of people. It feels like it.
Probably.
Does it not? I'll have to look into that. But yeah, that's all I got on expectations. You want to go over what we thought of episode 2?
Of course. So, episode 2. Starting out, it's alright. We're going ahead and start. The recap is there. There's no problem with the recap at all. It's just a recap. It gives most of the relevant information. But then we get into introducing the variant Loki. Right?
Oh, yes. Okay, so they've got this massive problem right off the bat. Alright, so they start talking about Loki and all the different variants of Loki. Alright, and I can't help but think, how are there variants of Loki? Alright, so clearly it's easy to accidentally be a variant of Loki, right? Like just in the name itself. All you had to do is forget to wake up one day.
Well, your problem wasn't the fact that there's variant Loki.
Yeah.
Just because it's intrinsic in the system that they built, that there's going to be variants literally all the time. It's just how different the variant Lokis are.
Yeah. See, like, they stress that they all look different. And they show a buff Loki and a bunch of different things. Alright, and I don't know how that would happen unless Loki at one point in his timeline, which we know his entire timeline, looked like that. He never does. So how does this Loki come to be? Is there another universe that they're pulling this
from?
From?
Most people would say that, given enough time, a variant Loki would end up being different. But the issue with that in total is that there is no time given. The second Loki disappears with the Tesseract, he's instantly picked up, not only less than a minute later.
Yeah, and also, by the way, spoilers for episode 2. But also, this is a spoiler for the end of the episode. They
We're reviewing the whole thing,
Yeah.
so honestly, if you're watching this and haven't actually seen it yourself, then I suggest. Well, I wouldn't recommend you do if you actually care about Marvel at all, but
yeah.
you should probably still watch it if you're ever going to listen to a review.
Yeah, so, like, thing is, they show at the end that Loki's a female, right?
Yeah,
the Loki reveals...
the other variant Loki that they were hunting throughout the entire episode. I finally get there, last, like, what, 2 minutes or so, they reveal that the variant Loki is female. She kind of just waves and goes into a portal, and then our Loki, the one that we're following, goes right into it. So.
Yeah. So they when they do that, there's maybe an explanation for this one. Maybe this is possible that she existed before they took all of the other timelines and removed them from existence. All right. That solves the problem.
That's
for
the
her.
only thing that can be, because we know that Loki can't shapeshift. He can make himself look like other people, but he can't physically be another person.
Yeah.
And honestly, there's no reason why Loki would illusion himself as a female all the time, just because.
Yeah.
So, and because the TVA gets to variants so fast, they can't change that much.
Yeah. See, like, that's the thing, right? Loki is a female. Can only be true if this Loki came from a different universe where different events happened. Different things along the timeline have changed, which can't exist with the TVA around. Okay. So she has to be from before all of that.
Yeah.
And
talking it over, I think there's only two options. One, she has to come up from before the TVA, or she's been on the run for so long, or he has been on the run for so long, that he found some way to shift himself into a female for some reason.
I don't think it's the second one.
I don't think it's that second one. But if we want to go to a less extreme, then this variant's been surviving even before the timekeepers decided that they wanted to coalesce the timeline into one singular thing, then that's going to have to be the only option.
Yeah, and the Asgardians live long, but they don't live that long. I mean, I guess she's time traveling.
Well, honestly, I have no idea how long it's been since the timekeepers did their thing.
Well, it has to be from before, from like the beginning of time, right? And they have to be working their way forward.
Perhaps. I honestly have no idea.
Alright, so yeah, but even if you give the benefit of the doubt and she is from before then, that would also mean that the other Loki variants that they specifically mentioned in this episode are also from then. And they've done nothing since then, and honestly, it kind of shows that because they don't know the first thing about a Loki.
The weirdest thing is that they explicitly say that there's a lot of variant Lokis, more so than the normal person. Mm-hmm. And I'm guessing that's just because Loki's the god of trickery or whatever, and that's obviously going to be his wheelhouse.
Can I say...
The issue is that the TVA knows almost nothing about Loki. Enough so that when Mobius is listing off some of Loki's abilities, our Loki, I suppose, actually corrects him because his information is faulty, which... Considering that this is what I'm assuming is a infinite organization outside of time and space,
they should know.
Should have and has met an almost infinite amount of variant Lokis before.
This episode very much establishes the TVA is incompetent.
Yes,
yes, with absolutely. The only competent person being Mobius, and he is only barely competent.
Like the first example of it actually goes right to the first scene of this whole thing. So, the TVA, for some reason, can only send out squads of 4, unless main characters are involved, in which they'll send more. But they know that this dangerous variant Loki is at this Renaissance festival. So, like every other time they've gone after this variant Loki, they send only 4 people to go out, and these 4 people walk right into a dark, enclosed space to try and find the variant Loki and get ambushed.
Can I say something?
Absolutely.
So
I just wanted to set the scene.
So these 4 people that are here don't know that they're going to find Loki. That's not what they're there for. They are there because a variant in the timeline happened.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and they just show up and do their routine thing in groups of 4, just like they always do. So they don't know that Loki's going to be there. For one. 2, before we go on with that one, I just wanted to say, if I can remember, that well, I guess it's unimportant because I can't remember. So, so when they show up at the
Renaissance Festival.
Yeah, the Renaissance Festival in 1985, Wisconsin. They don't know that Loki's going to be there. They're just doing the routine thing. However, I will point out this: the fact that they're all getting ambushed by Lokis, and this is a problem that's generally occurring at varying areas.
Yeah,
they don't seem like they care.
This is the second time that they've been ambushed by a Loki.
Well, that we've seen. Yeah, and they imply that it's been happening for more than that. In fact, we know it happened at least one other time because of the chapel thing that happened in the first episode.
You know what? Not even the chapel thing, because we see Loki going through all those files, and he he pretty much states that the same thing has been happening every time. The TVA appear, they get ambushed by Loki, and a time bomb is stolen.
Yeah, so like this has happened a lot. And the TVA just doesn't care, right? Like they show up there and they do everything like standard procedure, and they don't do anything differently. So they go in, they go searching for the variant. When they can't find the variant, they go into a tent and they're just completely like they're above everything, and they have no care, and they think they're not in trouble. And this is why they get trouble.
And then one of them instantly gets their mind controlled by Loki. That one starts to attack everyone else. Mm-hmm. Loki actually kills one, I believe, right? Stabs him right through the back.
He kills 3 of them. But yeah.
And then just drags off this one person that they mind control
C20.
away. C20.
Her name is C20. So another thing,
and takes a whole like strip of time bombs.
Yeah.
So
I actually do remember what I was going to say now. The TVA, the people that work there are incompetent. They seem to not be able to follow anything that's going on with what's going on, because the second that they have to think about something, they just completely ignore it. And I guess we'll get into it a little bit more when we get up to where Mobius has that conversation with Loki.
Yeah, that Mobius conversation is definitely a huge part of this episode, and it definitely opened both of our eyes to what exactly is going on, and not in good ways. So
now, after all of that, we cut back to, I guess that's the first thing that happens. Then we cut to Loki and them explaining everything, and then they go on a mission after to see what happened to this group before they got ambushed by Loki.
Right.
Now they know Loki's there. They bring Loki, they bring Mobius, and they bring C-15, and a few other guys. And
no, it's a B-20, right?
B-15. I'm sorry.
B-15.
B-15. I'm gonna get those names mixed up.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I hate these number names that they give, and while other people have absolutely real names, like Mobius and the Judge, which was what's the Judge's name? Gosh, I know they gave it multiple
times.
Judge's
name is Ravana.
Ravana, yeah.
Ravana, or what was the Renstalker?
Renstalker? Renslayer.
Renslayer, yes.
Yeah, which doesn't sound like an evil name at all.
Yeah, no, yeah. So, yeah, we'll call it Renslayer.
Didn't that desk person have a name, too? I don't remember.
Yes, his name was Casey.
Kate. So why doesn't these soldiers have names? Why did they decide that?
It seems like you get promoted, because in this scene, you see Renslayer. She has a helmet on, and it seemed like when you get promoted, you get a name.
Yeah, which...
Okay, cool.
Honestly, that doesn't make any sense either, because Casey said he was behind a desk his entire life.
Maybe Casey's the specialty.
Oh my gosh.
I would actually assume that the desk people have to be different than the people they send out.
You're right.
Because it's clear to me that Mobius and Renslayer both have done this in the past. In fact, it's specifically shown that Renslayer's done this in the past, but it's pretty heavily hinted that Mobius has too. So it seems like when you get promoted, you get a name. And until then, you get a letter dash 2 numbers.
Probably. I like I said, I have no idea how this place works, and they don't actually take the time to show it. They tell the audience what's going on, and then just continue blazing a trail forward.
Yeah. So Then,
So anyway, Loki and Mobius and the rest of the crew, they go to this Renaissance fair to give us very brief investigation as
yes.
to what happened. And pretty much their whole investigation is they show up, they see the dead TVA agents, and determine that Loki was the one who did it.
Before that happens, they give a few explanations on what's going on with the TVA, which I think we should talk about.
All right, yeah, go ahead.
So they say that when the red line happens, when a universe reaches the red line, the TVA can't fix the problem anymore.
Yes. So all of the TVA agents have some kind of like small wrist computer that they always use.
Yeah.
And every time it's shown, whenever they're in a variant timeline, there's a small branch going off from the main timeline and a red line. So
yeah.
it's pretty much been explained that the second that branch gets to the red line, the TVA can't do anything. So what they're doing when they go to these Nexus events is what they call it.
Yes, Nexus events.
They go there, they find the variant and capture him or her and take them to get judged for some reason.
Yeah.
And then they leave a time bomb and prune the entire thing, so that section never happened.
Yes, and the time bomb is explained to definitely prune, which they establish is to erase everything. And so the limitation for the time bomb is pretty much the only way it works in my mind is that it prunes the entire universe and timeline that they have in all of space, but it has limits in how far it can go in time in each directions, and they seem to be able to calibrate it.
So since it's branching already, what it's really doing is just, since the timeline they're on is just branching already, what they're really doing is literally pruning it so it doesn't get to a point gets to the red line so it can't go out of control.
Yeah, so it just erases everything that is in its spatial timeline and anything within the time area around it to just completely erase the timeline from existence.
Of course, this is speculation because they don't exactly say what it does either. And we're shown what it does.
Yes.
But this is one of the cases where it would be a lot better to either show a lot more, which they don't, or actually sit us down and explain what these things do. Because these are the main weapons that the TVA uses against everything. And it becomes a major plot point later on.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing that if we're going to get any more information, it's going to have to be in episode 3 based on what happens at the end.
But we haven't seen episode 3 yet.
Yeah.
Thing is, that explanation just doesn't work with what ends up happening at the end of this episode, which I guess we'll also get to. Also, Clock Girl is telling that to Loki. So that girl shows up again. The girl from the episode 1 that was in the commercial and all that kind of stuff. She's just an entity. She just exists.
Yeah, just a very small thing. I have no idea what Clock Girl is. I think she's just another one of those quirky things that they throw in to just say, oh, look how weird this is. We don't know what's going on either. So it's not really important. I don't know if they're ever going to use her again, but whatever.
Yeah, and so let's see what this says.
So afterwards, they get back. Loki, while out on that mission, wanted to find out what happens when it reaches a red line, so he started to stall for time. He gave this long-winded explanation that, oh my gosh, yes, we can't leave, the Loki's still here, they're going to ambush us when he gets out. Mobius sees through this lie, calls him out on it, and says, and pretty much tells everyone to leave. So they leave, they prune the entire place. The mission was kind of a failure based on what they wanted to do, which was to find evidence of the other Loki.
Yeah, I mean, the mission just went completely bad. But
it's not like anything bad happened. It just wasn't fruitful.
Yeah, nothing happened. But another question that I have to ask is, why do they carry more than one time bomb on them?
You see, I have no idea. The only reason I can think that they actually carry it is so that the variant Loki can get more.
Yeah. I mean, literally, it just doesn't make any sense. I mean, the only thing that they could even argue is they're lazy and they don't want to go back to base every single time.
You see, and if it was just like every agent has one, that's standard issue, that's fine. Mm-hmm. One might be all they need because they just somebody needs to set it down and replace it. And if it's a dangerous situation, then you're going to still need at least one. But we see a guy carrying a belt of this, at least 3 or 4.
They have a bag.
Yeah.
They just have a bag. These guys are walking around with just so many time bombs. It's ridiculous, and they don't need them. If they do erase the entire universe, you only need one. Then just go back to base. I don't understand why they have so many. It doesn't make any sense. Another thing that I have a question about is why do they bother capturing the variant to begin with?
Yeah, honestly, they're
going to erase them anyway. Literally, they have no quorum with pruning them. We still let it happen in episode 1.
Well, you see, the only thing that we see what happens when they capture a variant is, 1, they process them. 2, they make them sign some papers saying that's what they did. And 3, they try them in a kangaroo court, telling them that they're guilty even if they say they're not guilty.
Yeah.
Which we only saw that with Loki, true. We don't know if that's the case with everything. But honestly, we're never going to see that court system again.
Mobius calls it out and says that he was in an area where he was just going to be killed. Like, it didn't matter what Loki said. Like, I don't understand how a court system like that even matters. Why do you need a judge like that?
No,
but, like,
because the only reason that's there is so that they can continue with their quirky bureaucracy secret agent thing that they have going on, secret agency thing that they have going on. It's an aesthetic. The only reason that's there is to fulfill the aesthetic.
Well, I mean, actually, the only reason it's there is because it fills the entire plot. Because the plot just doesn't work.
I agree. The plot wouldn't work at all if they just erased every single variant, which honestly they should do, and there's no issue if they do. We saw a guard erase a variant before they even got tried at the judge or anything, and there was no reaction from everyone. The guard just went back to his job.
So they waste their time capturing the variants. There's no reason to do it. They should just prune everything. And I don't understand.
Yeah, there's no reason why they don't hop into each variant timeline, drop that bomb, press the button, and walk out.
Yeah,
It'd be the easiest job ever.
They don't have to walk in either. They could just throw it through the portal.
Yeah, I have no idea if they can throw it to the portal or not. I haven't seen it thrown. I've always saw it set, so I don't know if that's the thing. But I agree.
Yeah,
I don't think all it is them pressing a button. So I think they could definitely just press the button, throw it out, and call it a day. But they just don't.
All right, and so the last thing that I have to say is they make a comment with Loki, and Loki asks them if they're going to do anything to keep him from running away while they're out at this area. Mm-hmm. And Mobius tells him no. And their explanation for this is because he already knows they'll just capture him again. It doesn't matter, right?
Right.
That's a dumb explanation. That's stupid.
The first reason why it's a dumb explanation is that this whole plot is being pushed around because there's a Loki out there that they can't catch.
Yeah, I mean, like, that's stupid. But, like, also, that's like the police going up to you and being like, we arrested you once, so you're not going to run away because we'd catch you again. Like, really? Like, that's what you're going to say? And there's no reason on Earth they can't just put a collar back on him.
Yeah, he can definitely they can just keep having that collar on him. Mobius can have the remote, and anytime Loki gets out of line or just disappears out of nowhere, Mobius can just press the button and send him right back to where he was.
Also, that collar, if they turned it into like a suit, and the suit had buttons on it, you could rewind yourself like that, that would be super overpowered, and they would have just really stupid abilities.
I mean, holy shit, yeah.
That would just be dumb.
I mean, like, even if you rewinded yourself, like, a fraction of a few seconds in a fist fight, every time you're going to be able to catch the person wide open when they're taking a hit.
Yeah, like, you just win. I don't, because you don't rewind time, you just move where you were.
Yeah, exactly.
So, like, I don't know. And I guess they try to explain that they can't do time travel in in Nexus events.
One other thing that they tell us is that during Nexus events, once you're there, you can't just go back in time or go before or play with time as much as in Nexus events. You have to go like when it's currently being played out because reasons.
Yeah. They just say you can't do it because the timeline's unstable. And I guess that they're alluding to if you do it, you're going to create more time variants. But again, that doesn't seem like a huge issue because they could just erase those all with time bombs. Yeah. They seem to not have a limited number of those.
Yeah, the only thing it would be is just a few more agents come out and place a few more bombs and sweep it out.
So it doesn't seem like the biggest issue in the world to give Loki one. Not a time bomb, a necklace that lets you make sure he doesn't run away. And that would be super helpful in the future of the show. So, I mean...
Yeah, especially since he runs away at the end of it.
Yeah.
Runs away with other Loki.
Yeah, and if he had the necklace on him, they could have got him back.
So after this, Mobius and Loki have a conversation.
Well, Mobius actually gets chewed out for this.
Oh
Because
yeah,
apparently,
he gets chewed out by his boss.
Yeah, this is Ravana, and in this conversation with Ravana, we establish a few things. The first thing is that there are multiple, or that's what she says. There's multiple agents that she
analysts.
has. Yeah, analysts.
That's what they're called. So
yes.
Mobius has the job of analyst, which,
Actually, is that this one?
from what I'm guessing, it's just someone who's a little bit above the other main agents of the TVA.
Yeah.
Who deal with special cases, usually special variants, as we can see what Mobius has been doing. And apparently she has multiple of them. And just from what we've seen, she also mentions that she has others, like she said, but we only see Mobius. And honestly, the two of us think it's just Mobius. They're going to play some timey-wimey stuff, and it's just going to be him.
So, yeah.
I mean, what was the evidence for all of that?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it has to be. Like, the way that she talks about it, and the fact that Mobius has clearly never seen them.
Yeah.
He clearly has never seen them.
He's never seen them. She never mentions any name. She never gets into any more detail than they're just there. But the only information that we're given is that there's a snow globe, a new snow globe that Mobius didn't give her on their trophy case, a new pen that Mobius didn't give her.
Yeah, that says Franklin D. Roosevelt High School.
And coffee rings. Coffee rings on the table.
That are clear, that she says are his fault.
Yeah.
He doesn't seem to know that, but then he accepts it. It's weird. What I don't understand is also in this conversation, they talk about the 3 space lizard guys, and how Mobius has never seen them.
Yeah, and if Mobius, who's pretty clearly a high-up agent,
yes.
hasn't seen them, and honestly, Renslayer is really evasive about it the whole time, so I'm not even sure she's seen them.
Yeah,
which is also supporting what we said before, that we really don't think they exist. Or if they did exist, they're just not around anymore. They're just dead. They're gone. I have no idea what's going on.
Yeah, I mean...
And I guess that's what they're going for. They're actually seeding a mystery, but I think these are kind of blatant and a little stupid mysteries.
I mean, yeah, we immediately picked up. I had suspicions from episode 1. Just by the explanations they gave to Loki when they were talking about what the Timekeepers did.
Yeah. Well, honestly, I just thought that was just them being deliberately vague because they didn't want to get into everything that the Timekeepers actually were, because they wanted to focus more on the agency itself.
Yeah.
But after that scene, I also am on the same boat as you.
Well,
I just don't think that there's any good explanation about or to explain away how they're acting about the Timekeepers.
These writers have a serious knack for acting like they know what they're doing. Whether or not they do is beyond me, but they always seem to point out all of the big problems that they have and act like that fixes it. So, like,
we're going right into that scene then.
Well, actually, no. The reason why I'm saying this is because this actually establishes that point. But yes, we'll talk about that scene right now, just for the moment. Loki and Owen Wilson are going to have a conversation, and in that conversation, they just basically say they're the only two that matter.
All of the things that we said before, that no other characters have free will, that the TVA owns everything, that the only people who are actually making any decisions right now
are them.
Are the people in the TVA, and most importantly, Loki and Mobius, because they're the only ones that can actually have any consequences to their actions.
Yeah, and so this points to the fact that the writers actually do know what they're talking about. Another thing that they do is they point out that the Infinity Stones are completely worthless, and they seem to act like they know that they're doing all of these negative things to the timeline, and so the writers seem to act like they're competent, even though they're writing like all of this weird stuff.
Well, you see, here's the thing. When I first saw the first episode, and basing off everything else that I saw, I honestly thought that the writers were just incompetent or not knowing what they were doing. They didn't have a full realization about what they were writing. They just wanted to write scenes that had impact instead of actually knowing the impact. But this scene completely turns it around. The writers, at least for Loki, know exactly what they're doing, know exactly the consequences of what they're setting up.
Mm-hmm.
And that just makes it worse. Instead of being incompetent, which isn't excusable, but it's understandable if you're brought into a project you know nothing about, they're just being deliberately malicious. they're just
That's
destroying. And
most certainly
I
one way to
can't
take
explain it in any other way besides them being malicious.
Well,
or just willfully
maybe they were told
just
it wasn't
or
canon.
maybe that supports your point that they know that the whole thing isn't canon. But in my opinion, they can either be malicious or they just really do not care. In which case, I think that's both very bad traits for a writer in such important
that's not what
franchise.
You want. That's not what you want. I'll be honest though. That is why I say it supports my claim that when they say all that stuff at the beginning, that it was a hint towards it, and that's the kind of writing that I was seeing that Loki was giving, and that's why I thought that they just didn't exist. Also, it's not an uncommon trope.
Yeah.
So
I mean, there's definitely tropes that can be identified, like I've brought up, just the trope of them being a secret agency or whatever with a huge bureaucracy that's controlling a lot of things behind the scenes. They definitely lean very heavy into that. They also lean very heavy into their 80s aesthetic, which it's nice. I enjoy the aesthetic. It's always a fun thing to go back in time, kind of,
it's a little
and see
overdone.
how things go. Yeah,
and it feels like they're ripping it right off of Umbrella Academy. I'm not gonna lie, Umbrella Academy does the same thing. It's just 60s, and they also have this giant time police. So I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
It feels very, very reminiscent of that, which is, whatever. Umbrella Academy.
Yeah, except Umbrella Academy didn't have an entire expanded universe and stuff set up, and I don't think that their time agency went around dictating every single choice that was made.
I can't remember. It's been a little bit, but
if I remember right, they only went and stopped time travelers, right? That was their big thing that they wanted to stop.
I think so.
Okay.
I can't remember exactly. It's been a while since I've seen it. But,
agreed. Yeah.
But the aesthetic thing, it honestly feels like a ripoff of Umbrella Academy.
And honestly, another thing that we discovered, I suppose, is that their adherence to this aesthetic actually slows down their investigation because they're still using files.
Yeah.
They're still using files to look through everything.
Yeah.
When honestly, it would be so much easier to
search, which
it would be easier to search on a computer. So one thing that they're searching for is to cross-reference when Kablooey exists in the thing, which Kablooey is that candy that the other variant Loki gave to a child in France in the first episode.
I guess she wanted to be found. There's no other reason why she would give that candy to a kid.
And they were also cross-referencing that to apocalypse scenarios.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, it would be pretty easy if you had a computer to look up apocalypse scenarios and the location and date in which Kablooey existed on that time frame. Yeah, and just because it's a candy bar itself, you can even look closer, find an expiration date of some kind, and zone it in within the months.
Yeah. And they
can't
do that. They have to look through files.
Yes, they have files. They can't do that. They can't just cross-reference that data. And there's nothing that can be done about it.
Yeah, and wouldn't it be a problem if they didn't establish, we'll get to the scene and we'll have more of a conversation then, but they establish in this episode that they are existing in a time and they're moving through it with the timeline.
Yeah.
That they established that, and we'll get to it when we get to it.
I don't know if that goes with their factor that time works funny at the TVA, because it seems to be working semi-congruent to the sacred timeline itself.
Maybe it works a little bit slower so they can keep up with the timeline a little bit, I guess.
I mean, perhaps.
That's the only thing. But they clearly are with a timeline in the rest of the... And we'll get to that when it's not too far out. Because Mobius and Loki will have a conversation. But yeah, so... Mobius, after this conversation with Renslayer, then goes and he asks Loki to go through all the files and figure out something. He says, "Act as though your life depends on it,"
which it does. And after all this, Loki does find out that there is a small oversight within the TVA's information, I suppose.
Yeah.
And it's that they're only looking for when variances occur, and because of that. The variant Loki could be hiding in apocalypses because there's no variants that can happen in the apocalypse because everything that happens in that scenario just gets ended.
Yeah, they have a huge salt metaphor, and
Yeah,
the whole
which,
thing.
I
And
mean,
it wasn't
it takes up a lot of time that
But
really
they-
could have been explained better.
They do it to try and explain it with a really interesting metaphor, I guess. It's not a good metaphor.
They
but,
even admit it's not a good metaphor.
Yeah, but
whatever.
you know, I guess it does the job. I knew exactly what they were talking about when they said it,
Mhm.
right? And it's also the classic trope of if everyone dies, then it doesn't matter what I do because everyone's still going to die.
Yeah.
Right?
And they even go to Pompeii, test it out. Yep, it's true.
It
So,
works, yes. And then after that, I believe it's when Mobius and Loki sit down and have a conversation.
Yes.
Right? And this conversation is big because in this one they establish a few things. One thing I want to point out before all this is going on, until just recently, I was under the assumption that the timekeepers were not controlling everything everyone did by telling them what they were going to do. I was under the assumption that they picked a timeline, just random timeline out of the blue, and they said, this time doesn't look too bad. Whatever this timeline was doing, that's what we're doing.
Yeah. So your thought was back when like the multiverse war happened or
Yes.
whatever, instead of the timekeepers sitting down and actually crafting out every small detail that happened in the future, which is what we find out that they do.
That's what they're doing.
You just thought that they were picking a random one and deciding to sticking to it no matter what.
Yes.
Just so there wouldn't be multiverses
Yeah.
and the whole thing.
Yeah.
Which definitely calls more into question their morals.
Yeah,
in general,
it
and what the
makes more
TVA
sense.
stands for.
Yeah, because that makes more sense. That makes them, more morally gray and not just outright evil. But, that's not at all what they're doing. They clearly, in this one, they have a conversation. They say... Wait, is this right? Yeah, they say it's... Yeah, they say that the timeline and all of this stuff is being fixed by the timekeepers. That's where they are right now. They're currently untangling the future stuff.
Yeah, no,
And
not really fixed, just completely preordained.
yeah, they completely make it. And that's a problem in and of itself. They go on through their conversations with stuff, and they basically start having a conversation about how Mobius was made. And in this, it starts to reveal a lot about the TVA people and how they react to things.
Mhm.
Because when Mobius starts having these conversations with them, he says, "Oh, I was just made. I do all these things," and he seems to respond in ways where he doesn't think about things. Because every single time Loki asks, "Well, what do you think about this?" he seems to dodge the question and say, "I don't really think." He doesn't dodge the question. He just answers it as, "I don't really think about it. I just do what I do, and I am here for what is." And it honestly explains a lot about how the TVA operates, because none of them seem to think about anything.
Yeah. For some reason, when Mobius was talking, I was feeling like they were trying to make some kind of weird allegory to faith or whatever.
Yeah.
Because that's honestly what the whole TVA is running off of.
Yeah.
It's just these people that spawned out of nowhere. They're asking no questions, but they just have faith in whatever work that they're doing. And I don't know how I feel about that. I definitely don't like the idea that the TVA is just a bunch of people who are completely dogmatic to what they're doing and honestly have no free will of their own, even though they're shown to have free will and have every capability to have free will. They just don't, because they all believe in something.
Yeah.
And the issue with that, I could see that if they were trying to do like some actual religious parallel on a smaller scale. But this is the TVA. They control everything. They are above every single other power.
Yeah.
And it feels like they shouldn't have to take things on faith. They should be having enough evidence at their fingertips for literally everything.
Yeah, but none of them have seen the time lizards.
None of them have seen the timekeepers. They're all just running off of faith and belief, and
Yeah.
that their purpose is right.
Yeah.
And I honestly think that was mostly done just so they can hold off the true nature of the TVA and the timekeepers longer. I think they just don't want to answer those questions yet. They want to keep up the pseudo mystery.
Yeah.
And at this point, the only way they're keeping up the mystery is just by not having people give answers.
Well, I mean,
Or people making characters deliberately.
they
ignorant.
don't want to give it away before they get Loki away from the TVA.
Yeah,
That's the
yeah.
big thing. that they wanna
That's probably. The big thing.
So like, I guess that's what they're going for, but it really sets up the TVA people, and considering we have more information based on what they do at the beginning of the show, they seem to not think about a lot of things, and that makes their actions seem very stupid. Like not C-15, B-15 has this problem a lot where she just assumes she's better than everyone else, especially Loki.
Yeah, I know. It's that security guard, your favorite character.
I hate her.
I know you do. Gosh, every single time she's on the screen.
I just have to complain because honestly, I can't stand arrogant characters like that.
Mm-hmm.
At least they acknowledge she's arrogant, right? They acknowledge it several times, but it's so annoying when a character just thinks they're better than everyone else, especially just for I mean she's basically
at the very
racist.
least. At the very least, I'll say that it's different from Loki's arrogance, because Loki feels more playful with his arrogance. Like, he knows he's arrogant, and he's just having fun with it.
Well,
she definitely doesn't give off that same thing.
No. She comes off like she's sassy and better than everyone else, and she truly acts like it. Mm-hmm. And honestly, it gives me. I know that I shouldn't make these connections, but it gives me a connection to like racism and sexism. Like the way she acts to people, like specifically variants. Mm-hmm. She assumes that she's better than them just because she's not a variant.
Maybe. I didn't think about that.
She does it. I mean, it's a parallel. It's not the same exact thing. It's not exactly.
That's an interesting parallel. I'm not sure if that's exactly what they're going for, but who knows? Maybe in the end she's going to have a huge change of heart to Loki, and we're going to see her change and whatever. Well, and maybe that is what they're going for. That is a possibility. I don't doubt it.
I doubt that. But I'm just saying that's how she comes off.
Right.
And I just don't like characters like that because I hate the idea that people like that actually exist. but you know, that kind of stuff is
I suppose, yeah.
But in this conversation, they also have a conversation about how the timeline is they're in the future. The three timekeepers are in the future, and they're setting it all up. But then Loki asks, well, what are we doing here? He says, well, we're in the past relative to them.
Right.
And we're following a timeline and doing all of these things.
And they're just going along making sure variants are getting cleared up.
That's all they're doing, right? Okay, that makes sense. And then Loki says, well, what happens when they finish? And Mobius answers the question in a very interesting way. He says, well, then we're done. Okay, this immediately establishes that they are following a timeline.
Right.
Because if they aren't following a timeline, they would have to keep doing their job.
And not even just an infinite timeline either, which is how usually time, or at least cosmic timelines are perceived as infinite. No, there's a definite end to this timeline.
Yes.
Or at least that's what these people are believing. And at some point, their work is going to stop. They're going to catch up to the current time. There's going to be no more variant things. Time has ended. Everything has ended. And there's no point in the TVA anymore.
Yeah.
And I guess that means that the timekeepers are orchestrating the end of the universe as well.
Yep, they are. That's the only way to they are. The only way you can really take them is misguided, purely evil individuals. Even if they're kind-hearted,
I will give misguided, but I don't think I can give purely evil. Simply for the fact that people can be yes,
that's
what
I mean to say.
They're doing evil things. They're misguided in what they're doing.
Yeah.
They're thinking that just having all of this structure is what's best for everyone, and they want to bring it to an end so that they don't have to worry about apparently the horrors of a multiverse war.
Yeah, a better show. Maybe this one might, but a better show would frame them as villains. This one might.
Yeah,
by the end
any agency that would take away such a degree of free will, and considering that there is such a focus on totalitarianism in pretty much every form of fiction, which is all about taking away human rights and free will. In any other scenario, they would be the bad guys, and they very well could still end up being the bad guys near the end. They still have 4 episodes left, so I guess they can turn everything on its head still. But yeah.
I mean, the thing is, I don't know that they're going to frame them as the good guys, and I have a feeling that they're not, but they could. From the point that they are right now, honestly, it's definitely possible.
Honestly, just because of how quickly situations can turn on their head in Marvel stories so far, I have no idea where it can go.
Oh yeah.
And it's really hard. I can make guesses about where some of the long-term plots will be and some of those reveals are, like we already have.
Yeah.
But just when they might reveal the TVA, when other reveals might come up, I have no idea. Because a lot of times they want to have these reveals as soon as possible, and then they move on to other things. They just keep going.
The episodes there's only 6 of them.
Yeah, there's only 6, so they don't have much time.
Yeah. I just have to point out this other problem that I have with this. I know that it might be for budget reasons, but they are always, every single time here on Earth. Now, I don't know why that is, but it seems convenient.
Well, that's not true. They're also on Asgard as well, right? They're at least keeping tabs of that.
Yeah, but only Earth and Asgard. They have never yet mentioned anything that happened anywhere off of that, which just seems convenient.
Yeah,
right?
Which, honestly, I agree with you. I think it is budget reasons. Because if we're talking this is a infinite cosmic agency, they should be everywhere. Which means all of those planets that Thanos pretty much got decimated while he was trying to prove his point. A lot of other things that could have happened too. Like, what if a planet just got swallowed by a sun? That's an apocalypse level event.
Mm-hmm.
That would be something that would be on their radar. Pretty much anything that happens, we'd be seeing aliens everywhere in this agency. Yeah. Why are they all human?
I think it's either a massive plot hole or they have it in divisions. Because again, they could have easily fixed this problem if they just had the one guy from episode 1 that was with Loki that got pruned be an alien. If that was the case, then all of a sudden they're out. There are other places on Earth, and just the fact that we're at Earth all the time, it's pure coincidence.
Yeah.
Fixes the problem. Not a huge budget problem, right? All of a sudden, fixed. But that's not what they do. So the only explanation that I can see is that they have a budget issue, or the TVA has divisions based on areas, right?
And we just happen to be only in the Earth division. Right?
Yeah, Earth and Asgard, possibly the 9 realms specifically.
Yeah, which again, also brings into questions how realms work and how like different is Mars going to be involved in all of that?
Are there Martians in the MCU?
I have no fucking idea.
There probably is. There probably is.
There's Martians everywhere, man. Let's be real.
I mean, so I just have that issue. Like, I think that it's not a huge one, but it irritates me because they should be going anywhere through time and space, especially when they start going through apocalypses with these guys. They only care about Earth, and they could have done anything.
So, after that scene with that talk with Loki and Owen Wilson, Mobius, and we finally broken down everything that was said there, they finally go out and find where this variant Loki could be hiding, which is this shopping mall, this huge shopping mall in the future. What was it? In Wisconsin, right?
Alabama 2050.
Yeah, alright, I got at least one of those details right. It was in the future. And they go there, it's the middle of a huge hurricane that's going to wipe everything out. And their main objective is to go in there, find Loki, and find the variant Loki, and get rid of her, I guess. I guess that's the only thing.
Prune her.
Yeah, prune her. So, yeah, get rid of her.
Right? And they go there.
Which that also brings into question again why they just don't erase everything as it is already.
Yeah, why don't they just... well, I mean, I guess it makes sense why they wouldn't erase just Alabama. Because this isn't a variant timeline.
You're right. Oh, you're right. Never mind.
This time makes sense. Right. So they go there, and they start walking out, and when they get in there, Loki uses magic to, dry his clothes.
Yep.
And they start going, and before they are able to split up into groups, Mobius obviously wants to take Loki with him, who doesn't have the collar on him, because he should. There's not any timeline problems that would happen if Loki was wearing a collar in this situation.
Yep.
But he's not wearing a collar. Great job, guys. But B-15 makes it a point that he has to go with her, because it's her operation. Even though Mobius is going to be the one that gets in trouble if anything goes wrong here, doesn't matter. B-15 has to take Loki. They argue, B-15 ends up taking Loki. Okay, that's fine. Immediately, what ends up happening is B-15 finds a suspicious character. She asks Loki if it could be Loki. And he says, yeah, very much. And then she just walks up to him.
Yeah. So they find this character literally looking at plants in the middle of this huge hurricane that we know is going to kill absolutely everyone there.
Yeah.
And this man has suspicious written everywhere on his body.
Yeah.
And the first thing this woman does, after asking Loki who it could be and saying, yeah, it probably could be the Loki that we're looking for, walks right up to them within grabbing distance just so she can get magicked and mind controlled by the other Loki.
Honestly, I would complain that this is horrible writing and not what should happen, but from what I know about B-15, this is exactly what would happen.
Congratulations, it's in character.
Alright, so, I mean, I guess they got something consistent. So, she's now Loki, who in this scene, later on in this scene, she's going to refer to herself as Randy because of the store cloak that she is, and so we're going to call this Loki Randy. Just for convenience sake.
Yeah, I have no idea if they give her another name later on.
I mean,
but
it's probably gonna be
I feel like Randy. It's just Lady Loki then. I don't know.
No,
but,
I like Randy.
Yeah, I feel like Randy is honestly a much better distinction than just calling it Lady Loki all the time.
It's also a lot less syllables. It makes it a lot easier to talk about. So they have a conversation, and the very first thing Loki does is he tries to convince her, Randy, to join him in taking over the TVA.
Yeah. And they pretty much have the exact same motivations, but they've come up with different conclusions about what they want to do.
Yes.
She wants to destroy the TVA and the sacred timeline and everything.
Do we know that?
Well, she says that she wants to get rid of the TVA. Right?
Yes, but I guess, yes, she wants to get rid of the sacred timeline. I guess that we know.
And Loki, he wants to work within the TVA and get to a point where he can talk to the timekeepers and see if something can get fixed that way.
No, actually what he wants to do is he wants to take over the TVA. At least that's what he says to her.
Yes, take over.
Yeah.
So he wants to work within it, take it over eventually.
Yeah, from the inside.
And we'll see what happens. So
seems like a
so technically same goal. They both want to probably take down the TVA in some way.
Yes.
He wants to take it down from the inside, take control of it,
Sounds
get
like
that power. Yeah. She just wants to completely destroy it.
A little bit on the nose.
Yeah.
Not what Loki would do. Not our Loki.
And once she finds out that they both offer to kind of work with each other, I think. Does she offer it at all?
No. Only Loki does. Okay. And Loki offers for her to work as his lieutenant.
Yes.
Which she deliberates for like 10 seconds.
Yeah, she says she deliberates for 10 seconds and then instantly decides she wants to just get rid of this Loki, kill it, or just she attacks him. I don't really know why he wasn't being too overtly aggressive about it.
The only thing I can think is that she's testing him. And the reason why I would come to this conclusion is because she leaves the door open for him later. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, that door would have closed way earlier.
Yeah, she beckons him in with her.
Yeah. So clearly he passes the test during this, but the reason why she starts attacking him is she's testing. Because I think she's thinking, well, if I kill him this easily, he's worthless.
Right.
I don't want him. But he's Loki, so she's gonna give him a chance, right? Randy's like, I gotta give him a chance. See if he's anything, gotta go. All right. Well, I guess that makes sense. Also, when she's here, apparently what she was doing here, which is gonna be a huge problem. I still don't know how this works, but she set up a bunch of time bombs, all over the place, and she's gonna send them to random points in time. That's, I guess, what I'm assuming. And blow them up.
Yeah. And considering we have no idea how these bombs work, I don't even know how it works at all. Because here's the thing. When it's a variant timeline and those things get dropped by, that means that it just prunes the entire thing. But when it's set on the sacred timeline, that's just destroying the entire thing outright. You place it at one point, and based on what you believe it is, which is it pretty much wipes out the entire universe at that point in time.
Yeah, it's the only way that
makes
sense.
That means that it would destroy all of the future events in that sacred timeline as well.
And if it does,
but that's not what's shown. It's shown that multiple variants are spawning off of the sacred timeline at once.
There is one other thing that I think they could do, that doesn't fix this problem at all. Which is they could just erase the variants. Okay. If that's the case, then why on earth do they even bother detecting variants and not just carpet bomb the entire timeline?
No. If the bomb just resets things, which is the word that they use.
Yes.
They use the bomb that they reset
They actually specifically say prune.
They prune the variants, but the bombs say that they reset it.
No, they prune the timeline. That's the word that they use.
Yeah,
I actually have it written down on here. They prune the timeline.
No, I agree. Yeah. That's what they do with the variant, but they say that the bomb itself, they say resetting.
Yeah, they reset the timeline, but then when they go over it at the very beginning of this episode, Loki refers to it as pruning.
Right.
That's what he says.
Well, anyway, The other option that I was thinking that these bombs could do is that they actually reset it to whatever previous state it was in the sacred timeline. But that doesn't work either for what the bombs are doing when it's set on the sacred timeline.
It screws everything up.
Yeah. So I have no idea what these bombs do, and these are the main tools, and these are the main driving factors about the villain's plan.
Yeah, I don't know how they work.
Female Loki. I guess I have no idea if she's going to be the villain or not.
mean,
Randy.
Randy. I mean, I'm gonna be honest. The only thing is they act like they're nukes. That's what they act like.
Well,
like she just dropped nukes all over the timeline.
Yeah. In either of our assessments of what these things do,
they're way worse than nukes.
They're way worse than nukes. Yeah.
And to the point where they wouldn't cause variance.
In your assessment, they completely destroy everything in that time, and in mine, they completely reset everything. Which I don't know which one is worse, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, like if they reset everything to make it the sacred timeline, then they should just be carpet bombing everything.
Yeah,
right. Literally their whole thing, and then what Loki does just doesn't work. Randy's entire plan just doesn't work. And if they do what mine does, she just erased the entire timeline.
Yeah, she only needed one. She didn't need a carpet bomb the entire
Well,
thing.
I mean, she would probably need multiple because, again, they seem to have a limit in the amount of time they can erase.
Perhaps. There's a very vague limit that they keep saying. A very vague
or the red line
radius.
things that they pull up, They don't say radius. They don't say radius. They say the only thing that they set up for a limit in this is they say if once the time line gets past the red line, the time bomb can no longer solve their issue.
Yeah, which again is a kind of arbitrary measure because I have no idea what it takes to get to the. Is it just amount of time that the variants exist? Is it what they're doing?
That is exactly what they establish it to be because as you watch the timeline, it branches like this and just keeps moving. You can't see what I'm saying. It branches away from the timeline, and it just keeps moving away. Right. And then they have a red line bar so when it goes so far away. So what that establishes is not that the time bomb can't destroy any amount of space possible. It establishes that it can only destroy a certain amount of time of space. Mm-hmm. But it has unlimited space reach in which it would need to in order to remove the entire timeline from existence. It has to be infinite. Yeah. Otherwise, it wouldn't do it.
Based on your assessment of what they do, which honestly sounds like it's pretty spot on for the information that we've been given. Just because of what happens at the end, which is Loki sets off a bunch throughout the timeline and it sets variants.
Randy does.
Randy, yes. Femme Loki, Randy. Because she does that, I think that we might get more information about what those bombs actually did in the third episode.
I hope
because we kind of have to, because I still have no idea what they did and what exactly happened.
Yeah. But during all of this, Mobius finds a group of people that are hiding out in the mart, and one of the guy beats the crap out of him, or not beats the crap out of him. He says, "Oh, blah blah blah," and he is basically a jerk to him, one of the guards. And Mobius acts like this is a horrible idea. You shouldn't do this. They're clearly setting up Mobius in the scene to be a redeemable character,
or at least a good guy within the TVA, because based on all of the other things that we've seen about the TVA. They're just really an uncaring, kind of amoral bureaucracy.
I mean, this scene sets it up pretty much perfectly because he's being mean to these guys, and Mobius says, "Hey, you shouldn't do that," and the guy literally says, "Why not? They're gonna die anyway. They should be scared." That sets up what the TVA is doing, just right there. So that scene happens, and then the other thing that they're doing, they find C-20. And when they find C-20...
Yes, the agent that was kidnapped by Randy. Femme Loki, right at the beginning.
Yes. And all that she says is that it was real. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, nobody knows what it is.
I don't know what that is. And the other thing she says is that she gave the timekeeper's location away.
Yeah.
What?
So that means that the timekeeper's location is known to almost everyone. I mean, it's definitely known to Mobius.
Yeah.
And it's definitely known to almost every other TVA character that we've seen. Maybe not Casey behind the desk.
Yeah.
But I don't know. He doesn't really matter too much.
Yeah.
But pretty much that means that everyone knows the location, but has never gone to that location to seek out the timekeepers themselves because they have such a dogma about what the TVA does.
They don't think for themselves.
Yeah,
I mean, again, if
Yeah.
I just want to point this out. If they did think for themselves, it seems like there's probably a division within the TVA that just removes agents that think for themselves. And the reason that this is probably the case is because when they start to think and they start to do things on their own, they're going to cause variance in the timeline, and that's a problem that they don't want.
Yep.
So they would probably just remove them. And so everyone that's left is people that just don't think for themselves, because if they do, they become a problem.
I agree.
So, I mean, it makes logical, consistent sense, but it also makes pretty much everyone that works at the TVA completely and utterly incompetent, with the select few characters not being. I guess this explains it, because Casey's incompetent, B-15's incompetent,
Yep.
All of the foot soldiers we see are incompetent. The only person that has any level of competence is Mobius, and it's only very minorly. Right? He
Yep.
seems smart enough to know that Loki has more information on the Loki variant that they're looking for than they would. And he's smart enough to know that that could be useful. But everyone else thinks it's a horrible idea. And, I mean, and no one even thinks the information he's giving is relevant. So, they're consistent, I guess. They keep it consistent.
I have to be on the side of the TVA at this point, because honestly, they didn't really give much information out of Loki. Just that it could be hiding in apocalypses, and then after that, Loki ran away.
He was there for what I can say was probably a week.
Yeah.
And in that week, he showed them an entire flaw in their security system, and then he showed them exactly where Loki's location is. If that's not good detective work, then I don't know what is.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. All right.
And they could fix all the problems if they just put, a collar on Loki.
But
so
they don't.
He couldn't walk away.
Because they want Loki to get away, I suppose.
Yeah, I guess that's it.
Right?
And so she basically says, I gave up the Timekeepers thing, and they just take her out of the Nexus event. We don't see that happen, but I'm going to assume that's what happens.
Yeah, I'm going to assume they take her.
But when we cut back to Loki and all that stuff, she basically releases the bombs after she beats the shit out of Loki.
Just because.
And, that's great.
And Loki loses.
Well, Loki kind of loses. He gets back up and walks back over to her like he's ready to fight again. And then she's just like, I'm leaving. And she just walks out the door.
Yeah, she beckons him along. And...
Yeah, she beckons. And Mobius gets over there right at the moment that he's about to walk through. And he says, wait.
And then Loki leaves.
Loki hesitates for just a moment. And he walks through. And that's the end of the episode. I mean...
Alright, so, what do you think about Loki so far, man?
Well, I want to like it.
I know you really want to like it.
I want to. I really do. And you know what? If it wasn't canon, I could. But it is. And I really can't. Alright? Like, a lot of the things we say in this is nitpicking. Right? Especially since it hasn't had a chance to explain it, like what the time bombs do and all that kind of stuff. I agree. It is nitpicking. But at the same time, when a show continuously spits in its source material in the face.
Yeah, no, not even just its source material. Every single facet of the universe that's been built.
I mean, when it does that, it clearly establishes it clearly establishes a problem with the writing. All right, and because it's canon, and what happens in it matters. It can't be good.
Not only is it canon, but according to all the sources, this is what's supposed to be setting up everything else that's happening, like the whole multiverse that they want to do.
Yeah, they're hinging a lot on
it. It isn't even just like a one-off. This is the bedrock for everything that they're going to be doing in the future.
I can't wait to make fun of it.
Oh my gosh, I can't wait for episode 3.
Yeah, I mean, so like, another thing, I just want to make some small points here. The Infinity Stones, I know that they are, in the Marvel Comics, that's what everyone says when I ask anything about anything. It's so annoying. But what they say here is, the Marvel Comics, the Infinity Stones don't work outside of universes that they were made in. Okay, that's great. I'm glad that happens in the Marvel Comics. That doesn't mean that the Infinity Stones shown in the TVA thing are from a different universe, unless you consider traveling through time to be a different universe, which I kind of do. But they clearly show that the Infinity Stones work through timelines in Endgame. Clearly shown that.
Yeah.
So that's not it. And these Infinity Stones are from their timeline. I mean, that's clear because it's in the TVA, and they got them from variants. That makes sense.
Yeah. Not only that, but Didn't the time stone work in some other weird
Yeah.
like realm or dimension?
Yeah, in Doctor Strange, he goes over to fight Dormammu in a dimension where the time doesn't exist, and he uses the time stone without any problem at all.
I mean, hey, good for him. That was a nice scene. I'm glad it's meaningless. Because honestly, the time stone didn't work then, so he must have just been doing some like major illusion magic to pull that stuff off.
Yeah, no, that's clearly not what happened.
What? No, that's what they were doing, man.
So-
You just didn't know yet.
That can't be why the time stones don't work. That's my point here. All right, so I don't like that argument. It's not a very sound one. I guess the thing here is there's probably another explanation that could be given on why the time or the Infinity Stones don't work here, but it's not given yet, and I think it's a massive problem that it has not been given. Maybe they'll give it by the end of the series, but if they leave it just open-ended, it's not good.
Mm-hmm.
That's a problem.
Yeah, I think they're gonna leave it open-ended because they think they did their part in establishing that it doesn't work, and there's no need for them to explain otherwise.
Well, of course they don't need to explain otherwise because it's already explained in the Marvel Comics. They don't work in other universes. But we just established why that can't be true.
Right. I know you also, I guess we also discovered that they kind of did away with that similarity or equivocation they did between magic and science in the Marvel universe.
Yes, this is another thing. In all the Marvel movies up till WandaVision, they established that magic is just advanced science that isn't explained.
Right.
In Doctor Strange, it's specifically stated that. But in other things like Thor and all the things they do with the Asgardians, when they have conversations about how the what is the name of the gate that they go through, the thing that they put the sword in,
The Rainbow Bridge, right?
yeah, the rainbow, what's it called? I can't remember the name.
I know the guy's name is Heimdall. And that's usually how they reference the gate.
Opens the gate. I can't remember what it's called for the life of me. But when they establish all of this, he's talking with an astrophysicist who's played by Natalie Portman. And I can't remember her name, but she's going to be female.
Foster.
Jane Foster. She's going to be female
Yeah.
Thor. It's going to be great. I can't wait.
Man, I'm so excited for everything that Marvel's doing. I love the direction they're going.
Oh my gosh, man. I can't believe this. This is the best thing I've ever I can't finish this statement. It's not. No. But anyway, ignoring that, they have an entire conversation about how it works in science. And how everything that the magic that they're doing... Wow, that was bad. All the magic that they're doing can be explained in science. So their magic system is within science. But they seem to, especially in WandaVision...
have just decided they don't want to do that anymore. They just don't want to do that.
They distinctly distinguish technology and magic. In this one, it's pretty obvious when they tell Loki no magic works in the TVA, which they seem to include as the Infinity Stones and what Loki's doing and all of that kind of stuff, which I felt like was science. That's what they established it as, but they seem to say that that's kind of thing. And maybe it's just a MacGuffin. They're talking about that specific kind of science.
Right.
And they're able to turn that kind of stuff off. But it seems like actually it's just lazy writing, and they just don't want magic to work in the TVA. And
I mean,
they don't know what else to call it.
That's the only explanation they really have.
Yeah, and so that's a problem in and of itself. But the other one, the one that's way worse about it, is WandaVision. And they just seem to, like, magic is now a thing. And it's just magic. It seems to be
they
more...
had that a little bit in Doctor Strange, but they also took the time to explain that all of that was just applied science in a way that, you know, is like so weirdly advanced or its own thing that it seems like magic.
Yeah, it's a type of science in some way. But in WandaVision, it doesn't work that way because they kind of just know how things work just by seeing them, which isn't how science works. I mean, like...
Well, dude, no, I saw a turtle once, and I knew exactly what was going on, man. Every little detail.
I mean, like, right?
Like, I could recreate a turtle right now if you gave me the components.
I'm glad. That's impressive.
Yeah, I mean...
How long would it take you?
Probably like a few seconds, because I think that's all it took for Scarlet Witch to even see the symbols that she ended up copying.
Did she even see all the symbols? Like,
I don't know. She, like, vaguely looked around the room at them, and then later there were the magic... there are the magic reverse Uno card that she used
I mean, great job, guys. I mean, at least they established how she won, but I don't think they established it in a great way. I mean, that kind of stuff just wouldn't happen if there was this massive like science thing behind it, which is what they established how their system works. And I guess I'm gonna have to look into it a little bit more to be completely definitive on it. But I've just noticed that it's been leaning towards, well, magic is magic now and
Yep.
not science. And I just thought that was something we should point out. I honestly don't have anything else to say.
I think we pretty much hit all of our main points, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I'm
All I
episode 3.
All I can say is I'm extremely excited for episode 3. Can't go wrong now.